name is Micaiah Stevens. Welcome to Hamlet Development Log number 18. We are in develop, not promised, coming soon. This kind of the development log's usually pretty early, but it's got some big news for you today. So we've got some announcements. I guess this kind of just fitting in, just talking a little bit about advertisements. We're heavily discussion Discord. It's basically just a matter of just posting the Discord and see when it happens. But anyway, so the status report 0.08 is gone! Yay! We updated to 0.10 on the live branch, and then updated to 0.18 on the beta branch. And then we have 0.19 in the alpha branch, still kind of in working. So let's showcase this. It shouldn't be actually, unfortunately this isn't going to be a huge surprise for a lot of people. You can't really do it that way for the beta branch. What you have to do is go through the library, and you double click on here, and then you got to click on the play beta branch. There's probably a way I can just tell it to use, this specific file name, the same file name for each, but anyways, that's pretty much it. It's about a 20 meg update, and we got our new, kind of the old Haven, new old. But yeah, so this won't be anything exciting for people who have been seeing it on the, so this is the developer build? Oh, interesting. I guess that's because, anyways, it's on version 0.18, that's all that matters. I know there's a kind of a cutoff here, so we'll have to think about that a little bit. But yeah, so we've eliminated the, sandbox, I guess. We're going to probably bring it back. Part of the problem is the RTS build is not ready yet, so and then our discovered no option, so we got to clean that up as well. But yeah, so you can just cut through here. It should be able to save your progress, but it doesn't seem like it wants to, so it should be pretty good. This is kind of the new, this is the physics-based character, so there is kind of a few problems with the physics right now. Yeah. Oh, and then this is obviously. Oh, yeah. This is the. I made a change on the tiles to move them over 0.5. But yeah. And then I've also added the wood pile back. Just maybe you haven't seen that change as well. And then I added the rocks. And I've added the trees. Oh yeah. And I also changed. I changed this physics. I can't decide. There's a physics to knock down the tree, seems pretty cool, but it just it's a little too dicey for an animation. It becomes becomes a lot of problems, and the physics collide as well. And I think we can actually fall through the world in this build as well. Come on, push me through. Oh no, okay. I guess I get that. I got that. Oh, and then entities are also enabled. I turned off entities as well, and I turned off kingdom. So none of that stuff is active. It's just part of testing the environment. The law system is active, so when you walk through the cave, it will trigger a. But there's no way to show that in UI. I don't think the only thing you can do is, I believe, F11. Yeah, it brings up a sort of a debug menu that shows kind of what's going on. The UI debug is active. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much it. I know it's kind of a really pretty. Pretty early. It's sort of some of this. I think the skybox needs to be adjusted as well. I guess we should just add in the cloud skybox or something, just to kind of give us something, because it does feel a little whited out, like especially here for me. But yeah, so hopefully this just will. I've kind of been floundering as what to do next. Obviously, well, I've fixed a few of the tree bugs. Yeah, and then are we? Yeah, because we're in the house. The camera work is definitely one of those things that really needs to be adjusted for a lot of these things. But it's pretty complicated to figure out how to. That's one of the major complaints I've had a lot. The only complaint I should say, but hey. Yeah, so hopefully we'll be. Then you can also put away your axe. I'm not sure about a pickaxe. I might just use the axe for now. I do have more ideas for tools, but until the items come along, and then we actually get the character package as well. We did pick up the bag pack, which we talked about, which is over here. I know this house is pretty bad, but it's kind of testing out some ideas. Oh yeah, let's see the physics. Yeah, the physics just doesn't seem to want to. Um, it's pretty cool for like going up and down stairs and stuff like that. But then when there's part of this is I realized that this log system is pretty. It's sort of the starter of it, but it's like because it's almost 3 tiles wide, that becomes a problem. And I sort of envisioned this wood pile look like this, which is great because you can fit another couple layers of logs on there and stack them up pretty high. But it sort of becomes like a little. I might have to cut off those. Yeah, and then this sort of becomes a problem as well. Anyway, so it's definitely a massive work in progress. In fact, I believe what happened with the texture on the house here is we were messing with the texture, looking at if we could actually change the texture, and that was the one we just picked. And then we went and started a new graphics project and loaded in a whole bunch of tiles. This is kind of we like the design of this house, but and it's physics. I think we actually do have the okay. You are not being a very happy camera. Why? That's strange. Camera. Okay. Well. Anyways, there's nothing inside the house, so I mean it looks basically almost exactly like this house on the inside. So there's no real difference. In fact, yeah. So this one does have a door that's a separate object and a window that's a separate object, so that's kind of nice. And this bed needs to be really adjusted, but that's one of definitely the buildings are kind of one of the which is kind of an update to the keep is the castle as well, and then getting the NPCs back in. And so I think a lot of it's just moving over what we want to do and sort of how now that everything's sort of envisioned how we want things to work. Yeah, I don't think there's a single now that everything's kind of. Oh, the other thing to point out too, there's a pretty major bug here. We can't click on quit. We're not sure why. There could be some sort of thing here, but you just basically click on the main menu and not accept, and then you can quit from here. So there we go. And then yeah, so there's 0.10 on the beta branch, or 0.10 on the live branch. Yeah, so. That's pretty, it's kind of a long time ago. You can see the different differences in where the camera angle is and how far back it is. We like the new view. I think we have a screenshot here. Yeah, we kind of, where we're right here, we're kind of 2 tiles up. I don't remember, anyways, we like the new view. And then, yeah, so we're talking about the 0.19 on the alpha branch. We're probably going to it's actually pretty easy now to update things, so I think the plan is kind of before all this fiasco of updating to the Haven Engine 3, that it was, we're hoping to push out, like fix the menu bug or fix the bugs or start, fix the texture on the house and start pushing out micro updates and get it up to like, 0.19, 0.20, 0.21, and then when it feels stable, then push 0.21 to the live branch. And then start working on new alpha branch features, but that's also kind of I don't know, it's just part of the and then yeah, so from there, so we showed the game demo. It's definitely a different take on this. We definitely want to get the barrels and the crates back. The tree, it definitely feels like the tree's not big enough. Maybe it needs to be like 2.5 instead of 2 or something. Excuse me. So yeah, so we this is the development log for 18. It's kind of the rest is just the devlog. We started this kind of on June 3rd, which is kind of as soon as we put out the 17, we started working on one of the big things I think for and then this should be on so it's about 7 days, so it seems Monday to Monday. I think it was Sunday night basically. Monday, I don't know if it's Sunday or Monday, but it's like Sunday night for us, so we call it Sunday. Or yeah. Anyways, one of the big things we knew that for the devlog we wanted to was that the fact this is devlog 18, and we were talking about version 18. So we thought, hey, this would be a perfect time to push this out. Not rush it so much per se, but to push it out quite a bit. So Anyways, we talked about this last week. We tend to do this where we it's so strange where we talk about a subject and then we think about it for a couple days afterwards. And anyways, this is kind of the that sort of um, you know, it's sort of the same as 17. Like the system design discussion was 17, so we probably won't hit on that as much. Um, it definitely feels like it's working and it's sort of solidifying what we want to do. So anyway, so the microenvironment is this environment is basically talking about the idea that this single scene here is the environment that you have the character, you have items, you have the crate, the barrel, the house, the bed, and then also the tree. And this you can chop down the tree, collect leaves and make mulch, collect logs as we showed here. That's probably not included in this discussion, but that's definitely one of the things we want to start, like collecting logs and stuff. We also thought about an economy as well of how to sort of set up our economy a little bit more, which sort of entails a lot of items and a lot of trade and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, so I mean that's definitely one of those things where we're kind of working on next. Like we fixed the tree physics bug. We just basically disabled the physics on it, and part of it is sort of we had this tree demo. I don't know, maybe we'll show that at some point. Where it was really awesome physics based, but it was such a mess to try to clean up all the. Maybe if I was thinking about maybe if I wrote a gravity object that just sort of forces everything to drop to the ground, because some reason when you attach two physics objects to something and put them right next, in each other's physics space, they just explode, and that's not how physics works. Um, I guess it would work that way technically if you took two suns and put them right next to each other, they would explode. But it would be it wouldn't explode in the way it does, and it wouldn't create the it would do something different, I think. But anyway, so yeah, so the microenvironment's talking about this idea that the gameplay of right here, we want to clean this up. You can sort of see it. It would be kind of feeling boring and dumb, but it kind of feels like we need to focus on making that gameplay very intuitive and fun and interesting, and like fixing the cameras that we talked about, fixing the trees, fixing the textures, and everything that is involved in this scene. With a couple of additions, like the crate and barrel. Those are kind of crafting mechanics, but we're not quite sure yet. But we think like adding in picking up of items, even if it's not only in the internals, and then allow you to like walk over and pick up a log, and then only be able to pick up so much, and then be able to run into the through the roguelike, run into the which is our default motion right now, where we run into a tree and it starts chopping down the tree, or run into the log pile. It would unload the logs, and we were showing that a few weeks ago, or a couple months ago actually, I think now, where we had this demo. We do want to get those demo screens back up, because those were really helpful. Honestly, we were almost thought about for this update. We were just like, we should just take all our modern code and dump it into the old engine and see if we can get that backwards compatible, because it's sort of everything was there. It just how things were built were kind of backwards. So that's kind of in that system design discussion last week, and now we have that solid that we like where it's going. And a lot of it's down to now sort of this idea of, we thought we would have to have a sort of a scriptable object sit on a game object, but now we just realize we don't. We just need the game object, and then we read all the data into the game object, and then that sort of handles. And when the game shuts down, the game object just like, hey, and that's also including the axe and the bunny slippers and the backpack. They need to be saved to the character data as well, and then pulled from the world as well. So there's actually very simple things. We just have to figure out when we want to put that into it. And then we get into this macro environment, the houses, the laws. It's not just the laws themselves. Like going into the cave is part of the law, but it doesn't really mean anything until you actually have guards and citizens and this whole macro world. And that's probably just going to include like this thing right here. So this is the macro world basically. This is actually the macro environment. Macro world is basically just saying what is what is yeah, what is Hamlet actually going to look like? The final build of Hamlet. It's going to be hopefully more kind of like this. Is sort of the in-game is another way to say it. And then two, we're hoping that that in-game doesn't mean, hey, I built this town up, now there's nothing to do. It means that you can go through, earn a ton of money. Um, I'm not sure if we're going to get the military and royalty in there yet. Those are kind of post 1.0 features, especially the royalty. There'll be a concept of these things, I think, for sure, but they won't be included in the base Hamlet game. And then we'll have to talk about the post post 2020, which is what we've been talking a little bit about. I think yeah. So then here again, it's just the same. This is what we had before. Yeah, so it's just getting the micro and the macro environment, and that's this is kind of like the macro environment I was talking a little bit about. Like, is just this town. We're actually thinking about a couple different story ideas about a building a Keep and Bailey town. Um, which we're looking at. We shot Anniversary, which I think we'll be talking about maybe in a devlog or in a design log in 3 or 4 weeks. But yeah, so it's like we'll have this kind of this idea of the royalty lives up here, and then you can sort of come. I think we're we're definitely going to pick up this pack. This is the Zugos art pack, but we couldn't determine if these buildings were the same building types as the cheaper building pack. So we were afraid to buy a expensive building pack like this and then need to buy the cheaper pack as well, raising the cost significantly. If these buildings are the same sort of internal structures of the other buildings, this would be really awesome. And then two, then we have to actually decide the environment. A physics-based character can probably move around this pretty easily, but we can't get on top of walls and enter in buildings and do stuff like that. So we're going to have to figure out that. That's definitely a massive challenge. It's something we'd like to solve before Hamlet ships, but we also kind of realize that a lot of those problems are for the next iteration of castle walls, and more interactive with the cities and stuff. In the roguelike environment, there's Kingdom Come and Deliverance has this really awesome, really interactive world. You can walk around and do a lot of things. Some of the castles are not all modeled, but there's a lot of places you can go. But that doesn't fit into the roguelike that we're focusing on. Maybe a little too much, but we think that's kind of like the gameplay that we're sort of focused on right now. We'll have to see that. That's still kind of really up in the air. It's just basically we're putting together a medieval RPG, and then with roguelike elements, and then we'll have to see how roguelike we go with the movement we've been talking about for a while. But yeah, so we have a couple different design ideas about you're inside a castle or you're inside a town, and then there's sort of reasons for why it's a limited environment, and then you can go into the dungeon as well. At some point, we talked about over here there's a dungeon entrance or something. We could just put the cave entrance right here, and you go in and basically enter the cave through the stairs that are not there, which is a very viable thing games do. We just kind of but we'll have to see how that all ties together. But anyway, so I'm just kind of like we want to perfect this environment where we get down to the items, the characters, and the buildings and everything you interact with. And then once that happens, we feel we can push that, clone that 10 times that we talked about last week into this macro environment. And that also includes more things like blacksmith and lumber mills and church and taverns and then the military is also military is just guards in general in these medieval towns. So the military is kind of like the watchmen and the guards and the sort of the patrollers and people that are supposed to protect the town, and you from outside influence, and then also protect the citizens from your nefarious deeds if you want to do them or not. And we're gonna try to have a lot of things that you can do, but we're also gonna have consequences for those as well. And then too, it's like because we really do like that Skyrim approach of you go to a town and you can sort of sneak around. We're probably not gonna have like full assassinations and murder and all that stuff. We might have some slight things like that, but yes, and then that will be based on laws and morality, and then the military is also part of the military is under the rulers of the royalty, and then and at some point too we're talking about the fact that you can join the military, join the patrols, and join, um, you know, put your characters in guards and sort of and then you can have guards watch out for you and do what you want to do under the same sort of layered approach to that. So that's awesome. So the next update will be the point 19 update. I guess we're going to start working on that right away. I'm not sure what it's going to entail. We're kind of needing to take a little step back from this in some respects. Excuse me, because we I felt I was going to cough there, but because we need to focus on a lot of other things. We've been talking about that a few weeks ago. That this is kind of the we're running a studio, and we have neglected a lot of the studio's responsibilities, and we feel we need to get some of those. It's not just in making a separate game that we sort of we're doing. We're learning game development through other methods of turn-based games, and following tutorials, which we keep up with pretty regularly. But we also have other projects that are maintenance mode projects, where we want to kind of update, and we have a major update for an app that we need to get out there as well that we're trying to decide on, and some other stuff we need to think about, so to keep Haven Studios sort of viable in the long term. But so that sort of leads up to that 2020 discussion. We know we kind of really wanted to get this game out last year, I think, and we've been working on this game for a very long time, and it felt like we should just push it out to develop. And we do realize that it is pretty early access, and a lot of people are saying too early. There's a couple of games out there that are, but it's just like, I don't understand what people expect. If an early access game, they want a complete game, and it's like, that's not an early access game. Then it's a complete game. If you want a complete game, then buy a complete game. It's just early. It's like, as more developed becomes more open sourced, and not open source, but more open on the inside, which is really cool about game development, I think. In the last little while, I could probably have this design discussion on this, but little side rant here. But before it would be like you wouldn't hear anything about a game for 5 years, like World of Warcraft. You didn't hear anything about World of Warcraft for 5 years, and all of a sudden say, "Hey, we got a beta for World of Warcraft." It wasn't. There was a few bugs that were left out, but it was like an open beta at that point, which is like everything's done. They're just testing infrastructure, and people getting instead of 1,000 people, we want 10,000 people to play, or 100,000. So that's what they're testing, not the fixing the bugs and adding in more content. And it's sort of like in Hamlet right now. What we really need to get to is the content, and we're starting to actually finally turn that corner and saying these are the content pieces we want. We want the crate, the barrel, the log piles. The crafting mechanics, and we want to get the content in now. But we had to get up to that point to say, how do we get that content in? How do we add in all this data without overflowing our character and making it, because that's sort of the problem with these games, is like as they get more and more, as sort of an indie, sort of low support, team, I don't have a huge team to keep track of all these things. I have to sort of maintain all this stuff myself and keep all this stuff in my brain. It's like it gets overwhelming when it gets too big. And I think this new approach, basically it's a system design approach that I was talking about last week, where that we can add that law system that talks to these 4 scripts, and that's it. And that law system basically just talks to the one script on the character, which is that law GO that I was talking about, that just has the law value. and then that's easy to maintain versus a character that has 300 scenes, and then we have 30 functions with those things, and which functions belong to that. It's just really complicated. But this new system makes it so it's just like there's a law system that has, and then two, that's why the version 3 of the game engine, it's just called the Haven game engine right now. Uh, is splitting these things off into systems. Like we have the law system, we have the kingdom system, we have the item system, we have the citizen system, we have the the hopefully the node system, and the dungeon system, and all these systems are hopefully going to start working together in separate little pillar or tiers that can sort of interact with this on a much better level. And then also we're working on Hamlet, or not the Hamlet, the Haven Game Engine 4.0, which are actually probably going to shift to Hamlet 5.0, and then sort of leave room in case we need to update the system to 4.0. I think we're good, and we don't need to do that, but we kind of want to give a little bit of room. And then the 4.0 system is kind of talking about it's the ECS system, it's sort of that far-fetched, Stadia as well. It might be another, it's the future systems of games design, like adding all these extra really cool stuff. So, anyways, it's getting quite lengthy. I'm sure we'll have lots of time to discuss that, but ultimately the takeaway is the fact that we're going to spend another 6 months working on this to get things. Um, Adding in getting into that alpha state, and then once we're into that alpha state, then we can we're just adding in content and cleaning up bugs, and adding in, that's probably hopefully, and a lot of it too is like I don't know when that camera system's going to be ready. I don't know when I'm going to find a solution for the camera system. I really do need something like that, but I'm not going to, I'll put some time into it, but I'm not going to, so when a lot of those things come online and they actually start fitting into this larger picture, then it's going to make it, I don't know when I'm going to fix this graphic glitch right here. It's just, that's just a matter of going out and doing it. I think one of the problems is this is not very clean, and they really need to clean it up, and, which is kind of art and stuff. But yeah, so, and then two, as we add in more art as well, things are gonna start feeling final. Like the characters are starting to feel a little bit more final, because we've been running a lot of tests in the background, just trying to find the right mix of characters, and we think we have. There's a slight discussion on children in the game, like that we think that we do want children, but then we don't have any children models, so we might have little tiny characters or something to emulate that, and we'll have to see how that goes. But anyway, so that's a really great thing. So, but that does mean we are pushing off Hamlet till 2020 is definitely our we thought about September 2019 as one of our tentative release schedules, and it's just like we're just not quite there yet. We could probably get there in. Hopefully, we'll get there in more, but it just really depends on how the next 3 months. I don't think it will take us 3 months to put out the .19 update. I think we're going to try to. Yeah, my voice is going. Anyways, I don't think we're going to take 3 months to put out the .19 update. I think it will only be a week or two. We definitely want to get these out quicker, and then that's sort of, and we set the bar pretty low. And now we just need to start bringing back the old systems and bring back the old gameplay. It's one of the catchphrases we use a lot. Bringing back the old gameplay. We cut out a lot of those. We cut out the campaign or the sandbox, and we cut out the campaign first. Now we cut out the sandbox. So a sandbox is just the RTS element. So, but we feel like it's funny because the RTS elements help the game design, but and obviously the RTS camera didn't work in this instance. I'm not sure. It's something new to me right now. But the RPG elements, the adventure mode is easier to make a game out of quickly versus trying to get all these other systems to talk. And I think I have a solution for that. But anyways, my voice is going. It's getting quite long. So thanks very much. We'll see everybody next week. I meant to pull up a list of this design discussion. There's the next 3 weeks are filled with design discussions about the RPG design. I think items dungeons was last week. I should check up on that, but Dungeons was this last week, and now we'll have items and family, and we have a lot of topics. Family's going to be the one with the big spoiler, so prepare for that in a couple 3 weeks from now. So, anyway, so that's going to get some more of the large term, like solid view of the game, which we kind of also need to provide a better. Well, once all these things. Anyway, so I'm just rambling so now. So, thanks very much, everybody. We appreciate. There's one more thing I want to talk about. I know it's kind of backwards, but if you look up a Steam community page, or you can access through Steam, you can actually find. You can go through the Hamlet here, and Hamlet has the community page. This is kind of where we have the discussions, and we just posted the .18 patch notes. So if you kind of want to feel the patch notes, they're actually pretty limited. It's just a massive update to the Haven Game Engine 3. We don't have the full patch notes because we've changed so much, but now we can pick up items. We got the early look at the castle, the law system, terminology. Oh yeah, so a lot of this is just things. So yeah, so a lot of the fixed bugs and current progress. Yeah, so here's the return to the old game, such as chopping down trees, houses, bed, energy, and more from the original coming back soon. So we talked about the particle system, the energy system. So it seems, and then we kind of it's kind of ironic because we link back to the DevLog. So this is pretty much the forums for our things. It's pretty much just us mostly talking to ourselves. But if you kind of want the text versions of these things, and then you can, this is where you can also download I think you have to go to the store page and you can actually download the demo. Pricing is it's still $9.99. I feel it's a pretty good match for the price of the game. We definitely, here's that selection box as well. And a lot of the UI needs to come back as well. And yeah, so this is kind of the early, what the trees used to look like when chopping down trees, and then actually this box needs to come back as well. So yeah, so and then here's pretty much I think we updated it to say that we're coming out in 2020 somewhere in here a little while ago. So it's just kind of a heads up on that. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. So. Yeah, and it's been February 17th to June 18th, so February, March, April, May, June almost, so almost 4 months. So that was pretty massive. So we kind of feel this pretty. Yeah, so we're hopefully to avoid that in the future because that we won't be out till 2025 at that rate. So yeah. So. And then, I also like this too. We haven't really we're rating penning, but we actually kind of talk about the mild fantasy violence from combat and then alcohol references from crafting. So, anyways, we just think that, it's a little bit more mature, but it's up to the parents and what people want to see. But, anyways, hopefully it will be a fun little RPG. We have, we're not going to be, extremely violent and stuff like that. We are talking about murder and assassination. We'll have to figure out how to get that. It's just kind of how some of these games go, and it's sort of like, and that's sort of with the law system. You kind of some people like to break the laws and sort of, but a lot of that's true is just the consequences, which I think is a pretty cool thing too. Is like these games are great, but the consequences, even in Grand Theft Auto, you can run around killing people, but there's no consequences. Oh, sure, you get hit by 20 cops, but they can't take you out, and it's like there's no challenge to that. So in this game, we feel like that if you're going to do that sort of thing, you've got to be, you better be prepared and bring bring an army because these castles, and that's sort of one of the things about these castles is that they were built this sort of protection of areas, so it's like you could feel safe in them because you have guards and patrols and night watchmen and all these things, and yeah. So anyway, so that's kind of a long-term look at the game. That's sort of that macro environment. So thanks very much. I better end this now before I talk forever. But yeah, so we'll see you next week, and we'll have some more updates on what we plan to do with .19. It'll give us a week to think about it and try to, we have some general ideas of what we want to accomplish, but we want to get focused on some more long-term features as well. So you take care.